You're welcome back. The Electoral Commission has it is going ahead with the compilation of the voters' register following a Supreme Court approval that also excluded the use of existing voters' ID card. Tonight, there is some opposition to this move from the quarters of the NDC MP Enes Nogbe. He has a pending case against the Commission, which is to be heard at the High Court on Monday. He wants the High Court to rule that CI 126, which he says amended CI 91, does not give the EC the power to compile a new register. He intends to ask the High Court on Monday to stop the EC from compiling that register. Deputy Attorney General Yeboah Dame has told us the EC will no longer face any legal impediments.
Yes, so it says by this decision, the Electoral Commission, second defendant, is hereby directed to commence the compilation of voter registration as scheduled. Then by these decisions as well, they proceeded that any court in which same or similar action is pending or yet to be filed shall apply the decision rendered by the Supreme Court in these cases. So no court has the option of electing whether to comply or obey this ruling. The Supreme Court has ordered an exercise of its powers over all lower courts in the country, that this decision is a final decision on the matter and must be complied with by the court.
We know they had filed for an injunction which they are supposed to move on Monday, so it means that Monday they will have to go for that. You have to go and argue that injunction before the court and ask them to abide by the decision of the apex court, or it will place automatically they are not going to have a hearing at all.
No, so this decision will be brought to the attention of the High Court, and the High Court will make an order accordingly, dismissing in essence all the reliefs sought. But all the reliefs sought are also in the nature of the reliefs that, or similar to the reliefs that were being claimed in the Supreme Court. So the court will not have to hear an injunction and then come back and hear a substantive suit. The presiding judge would definitely, in accordance with this ruling, proceed to issue the necessary orders, which will be on all fours as the instant action.
But going for a judicial review, is it not fair that they are allowed the courts to just take a look at the process leading to the decision to compile the register, which is what normally judicial review looks at, as against the interpretation and enforcement which has been carried out by the Supreme Court?
Now, the Supreme Court under Article 129 of the Constitution has the power to exercise all powers vested in any court at all. That we call it the residual jurisdiction, the residual power of the Supreme Court. They can exercise all powers that are lawfully vested in any court or tribunal in the country. So the Supreme Court, in exercise of the powers conferred on it by the Constitution under Article 129, has made its consequential orders, and all courts are supposed to comply. I think the essence is quite clear that there ought to be order in the administration of justice. There cannot be a situation where the Supreme Court has taken its time to adjudicate on this matter, made orders which are binding on the NDC and all citizens, and then another citizen will be prosecuting another matter in the lower court. So for the sake of ensuring order and an efficient administration of justice, the Supreme Court has exercised its powers under Article 129 and made these orders, and all courts will be required to comply.
Well, we've been speaking to law lecturer Dr. Abdul Aziz Bamba, who is representing the Ashaman MP in court. He insists the EC, despite the Supreme Court decision, does not have the mandate to compile a new register.
One is that under CI 91, as amended by CI 126, the Electoral Commission doesn't have the legal mandate to compile a new or fresh voters register. The second case issue that we have presented is that there is an existing voters register under CI 91, compiled under CI 91, which has not been revoked. And that if a new voters register is compiled, we are going to have a situation of two registers. Whether or not our case will be upheld by the court is not something we have any control over. It will be for the court to determine. So all those who are interested in this matter and believe in the rule of law should leave this matter to the appropriate institutions who have the legal mind or authority to determine which side of an argument is proper and which one is not proper.
I'm sure you've heard the Deputy Attorney General's view on this particular matter. I mean, he holds the view that the Supreme Court matter should settle all issues, and that if there's a hearing, the court would have to be urged to dismiss your case.
I wish he had not spoken about a matter that he knows very little about, because that matter doesn't involve the AG as a party. It's a matter between my client, the Ashaman MP in the Electoral Commission. I would have wished that the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, will reserve any comments on the matter and leave it to the court to determine the matter. Don't put unnecessary pressure in these matters. Allow the courts, the properly constituted bodies, to determine the matter one way or the other. That is how rule of law is promoted in a country.
The timing of your case couldn't have been filed earlier. I mean, the AC is just registering on the 30th.
By the rules, you have to give advance notice, so that the other party, it's only fair that the other party is given advance notice to be able to respond. That is why the case had been fixed for Monday. Now, on Monday, there are essentially two things. There is a judicial review application, which is coming off on Monday. And the same Monday, there's also an injunction application. It will be for the court to determine what to do.
There are some who may be watching and hold the view that, I mean, this is part of like an entire grand scheme of using various means, because they say that a matter went to the Supreme Court, the NDC abandoned the bit about the compilation, then immediately another person filed the case. Then now, even before that was determined, another matter was also filed by the NDC MP.
Well, this matter was filed a long time ago. The Ashaman's MP's case was filed on 15th June 2020. So it was even filed before the Supreme Court handed down its judgment.
At that time, the NDC case was pending, and the other one too was filed in between them.
So this one is just for legal education, not necessarily. When you look at our legal system, our laws, there are different levels for approaching a court. So when a matter has to do with the Constitution, it involves constitutional interpretation or enforcement, then you go to the Supreme Court. But if it's a matter that involves an issue of, let's say, statutory interpretation, we are asking a judge to explain the meaning of a provision, then you don't have to go to the Supreme Court. So that is why you find that other persons will file cases in different courts. Because if you go to a court that doesn't have jurisdiction, power to determine your matter, the doors of justice will be shut to you. So always you need to make sure that the court that you are approaching has the legal authority to be able to determine the matter and consider whether the relief that you are seeking should be granted.
The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice is urging Ghana's Electoral Commission to have an effective backup system in place to ensure it registers all eligible Ghanaians. The Commission argues the EC in the past has been constrained with faulty equipment that has slowed down registration and the voting process. Speaking at a forum organized by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, Commissioner Joseph Whittal says a robust registration and voting system that is inclusive is the only way to avoiding conflict.
There is a need for the EC to build consensus on key electoral issues of concern using the human rights-based approach. If you visit, you read the African Union Election Observer Mission report, you see that clearly recommended to the state of Ghana. It says it recommends that the EC put in place a strategy to give more access to the EC's decision-making process and formalization of the existing IPAC as regular platforms for building consensus on issues of concern. This will strengthen participation and consensus building with the major political stakeholders. There have been issues with IPAC. These issues are not political. They are human rights issues. It's about participation and consensus building. If we have a system that has worked in the past, we should look at how we can strengthen that system. Because that is the way to go, learning the lessons of the past. Now, again, EC should provide backups to deal with potential challenges that may be posed by faulty DMVs. The whole essence is not to disenfranchise eligible voters, maybe starting with the registration and later on at polling stations in the main elections.
Joseph Whittle there, he also says the Commission must understand the Supreme Court's decision on the new register and act lawfully.
In the context of the COVID-19, while mindful of the need to protect the right to health and public safety, EC and law enforcement officials should be circumspect in the exercise of their discretionary power, taking into account Article 3 and 296. Indeed, yesterday's decision actually fell on the power of the EC to use its discretion within the law. That is the actual basis for the decision. And once they have used their discretion rightfully, the court had no problem. The caution is, how do you straddle between using your discretion lawfully and unlawfully? That's the challenge that EC is reminded.
Well, the Commission has been reacting to these concerns.
Election management is a huge task, and it is very complex. And why is it complex? Because the players like the political parties, the voters, the staff of the Electoral Commission itself, civil society, they all have their expectations and interests which may not be the same. And the Electoral Commission will need to manage all these things to make sure that people or the ordinary man is able to do what? To cast his or her vote. So effective election management, simply put, is just, we can say that it's a successful election, and a successful election is an election that is free and fair. And when we talk about the freeness of the elections, we are talking about the people enjoying their what? The fundamental human rights, so that they can carry out their electoral activities peacefully. And we are also saying that the election environment should be free from intimidation and other things that will not make it possible for people to have the equal right or have the equality of weight of votes. So one, people should enjoy their fundamental human rights. Two, the context, the environment with which the election is conducted should also be free from all those things. And when we say fair, we are talking about the application of the law. The Electoral Commission should be fair in applying the electoral laws, and so also the judiciary should also be fair in applying the electoral laws. In so doing, then there's no discrimination. In so doing, there's no discrimination. And we have to take note that every election is unique. Unique in the sense that the context within which an election is conducted is ever what? Changing, because of the social, economic, and the political underpinnings. So election management is not a joke, and 2020 is not going to be like 2016, it's not going to be like 2012, because the variables now, some will be there, but others will be added. So the dimension and the perspectives will change. If we take, for instance, the COVID has brought a new dimension into our whole lives, including the conduct of what? Elections.
And talking about elections, the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, is urging Ghanaians to participate in the upcoming voters registration exercise in their numbers. The Supreme Court decision, as you know, yesterday means that the current voter ID card will not be accepted in the registration. Despite his disappointment at the decision, Mr. Mahama says late last night Ghanaians with a Ghana card and passport should not stay away from the exercise.
MPP has, since its assumption of power in 2017, consistently put in place measures which seek to systematically disenfranchise eligible citizens of this nation. Such measures include restricting the identification mechanism for voter registration to documents which are not accessible currently to millions of eligible Ghanaian voters. We have been very clear in our minds that the decision to compile a new voters register was in pursuit of this long-held agenda. Hence our efforts to stop the wholesale attempt to exclude vast sections of our population from the process to determine who leads them. This represents the handiwork of a desperate incumbent that, on account of its very poor performance in government, sees its very political survival only through the prism of manipulation of the electoral process to exclude a section of Ghanaians who they suspect may not renew their mandate at the polls. A caring, compassionate, and responsible government would not push us to the brink at a time of a major pandemic such as COVID-19 that is causing so much anguish amongst our citizens. It is deeply regrettable that the Electoral Commission, which should be independent and has carved a niche for itself as a well-respected commission in the whole of Africa, has today made itself a willing tool in the execution of this most diabolic agenda. We must always be willing to hold leaders accountable for bad decisions that impose difficulties on our citizens. And this is one such clear opportunity to do so. Do not let the several hours you may spend at the registration center get you to surrender your right to vote. If you do so, that will only embolden those who seek to disenfranchise you. To the few who have passports and Ghana cards, please make use of them and register. And to those who get the opportunity to register, I implore you to assist your brothers, your sisters, and compatriots by guaranteeing for them, even if it takes a bit more of your time. Please see this as a civic duty and your contribution to the efforts to preserve the right to vote. This way, we will undo the grand conspiracy to deprive us of the inalienable right to vote, and we will, in the process, send a clear signal that it is only we, the people, who will decide who gets the opportunity to lead this country, and not governments we elect or state agencies who make themselves pliant accomplices in their attempt to disenfranchise us.
Former President and flag bearer of the NDC, Mahama there, but are you prepared to register? Here are the views of some Ghanaians on the streets of Accra.
That everything is set, I'm ready to register, so I will urge everybody who has a Ghana card and other necessary documents should also go and register, because that will make you valid register. Yeah.
But yourself, do you have the Ghana card?
I have a Ghana card.
Okay. So when are you looking forward to go register?
As soon as they open, then I will just have a day and then go and register.
Well, I used to have my Ghana card, but then it got lost with my wallet. So as of now, unless someone goes and guarantee for me that after he or she has registered, then I can also register for it. Well, actually, I'll be waiting on either my dad or my mom to go and then register. So when they do, maybe then the next day I might also register as well.
I have the Ghana card and I'm ready to go and then go process my whatever, like the voters register the card, and then I hope everything is gonna go smoothly, and we're gonna have a peaceful, kind of registration. Yeah, that is all I can say.
I have both documents, both the national ID and also a passport. So it is easier for me to register, and I can also guarantee for other people. I want to use this opportunity to encourage every Ghanaian to go and register because it's a national assignment. And for that matter, it is very important for every responsible citizen to participate in the registration exercise. Thank you.
Registration, the mayor, no judgment in the Mammy. If maybe I had grown in pain for a trip, I want to consider you maybe. Why shall I be? Oh, we are really in pain for the brain, Akason. Oh, may I in particular, I mean, a trimano, not that I'll say, because in this year, don't call on future no diago. In Tinkamedia in the Papamono, in Camestres and pain for San Yubio. Na that and I do to Abana in Kayam Fanto because and say, secret 3 year coffer, and the acquire said maybe, or mentioning his Cadibon Hobla. Now, yet is annual main, yeah, it's Cassaya, intermediate, Majum, Quanidia, in Cadida and I, Yajma, Cababo May, because you are about your Sacotin Tamso, and I have bought Personia. Yes, we are before.